Actually, we're going to try this again and see if it works. Shit. Ah. Hey, Wolfgeist. I'm not going to work today. Maybe it will work. Wouldn't that be a-okay? Hey. Whoa, I'm still trying to figure out how to use this damn thing, and I'd really like to use it today, so why is it doing that? Rawr. Like not panning where I want it to. There, it's locking in. So, I was originally going to do a video today on showing you the scaleless heads. That's going to have to wait because there's something a little more important today. So I went to pull my girl Hesty off her eggs. Let's take a look at that first. Open this really gently. And as you guys can see, she had 5 eggs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Haven't candled them yet. We'll do that when we got you here. But I got a more important problem to deal with. And that is, well, let me show you her. I can get this thing to do what I want it to do. And I was starting to work on this, and I've never dealt with this before, so this is a first for me. That's why I'm not doing it on YouTube. I'm just going to do it here. But let me find her, pull her back out. I put her where she's going to end up being. This is kind of why you check them. That's why I believe in checking them. So I pulled her off her, and what I noticed was, see if you can see it very well on camera, there's an obvious swell there. See that? So we got an egg stuck. Now, we may not get it all the way out tonight, but what I want to do is get it unstuck, and then maybe let her work on it on her own. So, kind of what I'm doing to do that. And I may miss a few comments because I'm really kind of focused. I'm just going to try to kind of work it down slowly, but surely, and see if we can't get it to move. If we can get it moving, and she is not going to like this. It's almost like the reverse of a force feed. But if we can get it moving... That thing is not charging very well. Okay, we're going to have to take it out. Hold on one second. Bear with me. Sometimes I swear you try to use the high-end equipment and it just doesn't work very well for you. So we'll go back to using the low-end equipment that seems to be fail-safe. How that thing is saying it's... I don't know what the problem is. It's like it's overheated. I haven't got it balanced right. Something. We'll go back to this one. But I honestly don't have time to mess with that today. Alright, so back to the work. Now, we do want to save the egg. But at the end of the day, the egg is less important than the female. So we're just kind of trying to manipulate that egg down. So whatever it's stuck in, we can kind of squeeze it and massage it through. Even not an iPhone issue, it's the getting the cooperation out of the tripod thing. Let me turn that thing off so it'll just stop being an issue. And she may well pass this on herself, but I know that she's been working on land for quite a while, because this is the one I took a picture of and posted last night. So I know she's been at this for a long time. And the other eggs have moved, and this one hasn't. So that is, yeah. How do I tell when they are? So much time. I don't understand the question. How do I tell when they're stuck? You can see it just there, that belly sticking out. And it's a really big egg. So worst case scenario, we can't get it to move. And even after us massaging it, if that doesn't help her get it on her own, in the next few days, we'll implode it. I'll probably implode faster than I would have before, because I want it to pass through. Because this is can be a dangerous situation for her. Oh, I don't know how much time it is, but I know that I saw her laying at probably 24 hours ago. So I fully expected her to be done laying. And she's obviously not. So we're just kind of trying to work our thumb in there. I'm using a pretty good amount of pressure. I'm not really sure how much I should use. But this is one of those things that you know it's going to come up. So I've researched this before. And I'm just trying to do what I've... I don't think I want it to go back up. A probe tool, you're talking here to here. You're talking a long distance. So it's probably not good for it to go back up. What we will end up doing, worst case scenario, that's right, TJ, a needle and a syringe. So I mean by imploding it. So we'll take a needle, we'll go in between the ribs, and try to go into the egg and draw out a lot of the fluid. In essence, shrinking the egg and allowing everything to pass out on its own. I also felt around in here and I don't feel anything that feels like a slug or anything hard in there. So I think all that's pretty empty. So there's a chance there's 2 eggs blocking her. This has always been a girl that's had healthy clutches in the past. And one retained egg is not going to make me say, okay, she's done. But let's say we get this out of her and we breed her next year and we have the same problem, then we'll be saying done. So mineral oil might help, but it's just so far up there that it's got to move. And what I'm really hoping is that she can do this on her own with just a little bit of help. So my goal is to just kind of massage it and hopefully get her muscles working, because she's probably just too tired. You know what I mean? And she probably just needs a hand. And sometimes that can happen too. Just kind of helping her try to push a little bit, for lack of a better word. I know they're not humans, but there is at least 1 egg in there, and it feels just like one. Problem is she keeps wanting to pull her tail up on me. And they might, but I've taken a snake to the vet, and one of the best vets there is for animals, best one in the area for sure that I could get her to, for the same problem, and all it resulted in was a dead snake. So, and what they wanted to do, well, I see the butthole opening up, that's a good sign. What they wanted to do was a surgery, which would have likely been the end of an old snake anyway. What I wanted to do was try to basically mineral oil more or less up in there to try to get her to... There we go. You might have had some poop blocking up. I also might have popped a hole in that egg. Yeah, I think you did. Which if I did, I'm okay with that. Because again, I could care less at this point about saving that egg. And if we did tear a hole in it, it's all the better. Come on, girlie. Get that out. Now, we've had a little anal leakage, for lack of a better word, but I do think we've moved that down a little bit. And again, if we ruin this egg, in other words, if it like gets a little hole inside of her, we just get the fluid out, I'm okay with that. Because it will attach to the insides eventually, and then it'll cause you a lot of problems. Oh, back to my story in the vet. Sorry, I got sidetracked when I thought we had something working its way out. They killed my snake, more or less, so, and we did an implosion, but we did it too late, and I've done an implosion on another snake that wasn't mine. So I say this is my first time. I guess it's my first time with my snakes, but a guy had one that we did it on, and you know, it did pass that egg, but it had been retained too long, and I don't think that snake made it either. And what I'll probably do is I'd set her up a new tub. We're ready to leave her for the night. Yeah, I got some empty space where her channel's starting. We'll put her back. How often does this happen? Well, this is my second time. And yeah, the shell would pass because it's just a leathery skin. So, I'm not sure we popped it. That may have just been some old poop in there that was also in the way. That could be a part of our problem, too. Because that does not look like egg goop now that I'm looking at it. I was hoping so. But yeah, you draw as much fluid out as you could if you use an implosion. You're wanting to shrink that down. If you do tear a hole in these eggs, I've actually torn 2 this year, setting them up. First time I've ever done that, too. Right? But, hey, it happens. And see where we're at here. I mean, I don't know if we made much in the way of progress, but let me sit down to keep working. It'll be a lot easier, and I'll lower the camera so you guys can see too. It doesn't happen very often. The other time it happened was on a very, very old first-time breeder carpet python, and I didn't know how old she was until we started doing some math. And she'd never been bred because they thought she was a male. And she was probably minimum of 14 up to 17. So, I mean, she was really old for her first clutch. And that might have been a part of it. I mean, kind of live and learn thing on my account on that one. But she was a big, healthy girl, so I wasn't too worried about it. Then she just retained. And on her, the first egg had gotten kind of sideways, and then they adhered to her ovaries, and it was just a shit show. So. The thing is, they don't really act like this hurts. I mean, the only indication she gives that this is bothersome is when I'm pressing through there, she tries to curl her tail up, which I wish she'd leave it down. We could let gravity kind of help us. So, this is kind of the bad parts, right? I promised you guys I'd share both. I did not expect this today. One thing I was going to say is we do go to put her back after some massaging to let her work on this herself. Because there are days they'll come back 2 days later and lay an egg. Like that happens. As a matter of fact, we were at Tallgrass. We found a girl that had done that. They thought she was done, and she wasn't. This girl's just thin enough I can see it. So she may very well pass this on her own. We're not at the point yet we should really be terrified. But I am at the point I want to give her a little bit of a hand and kind of massage her and work her. We'll probably do this every day for a few days. And then if that doesn't work, we'll go to implosion. And I fully expect that egg to be bad. I'm not really sure on that one, how long before it attaches to her. I can tell you on my other one, we didn't really know what was happening for a while. We were really new. And so then when it got to a point where like, man, this has been way too long, we took her to the vet. And when I say the vet, we have a vet teaching hospital here. So, I mean, they work on everything. They teach exotics, they teach farm animals, they teach tigers. I mean, you name it, they work on it. I think when I was in there was a freaking monkey coming in, right? So, we went to a really good vet, and of course, you got students, but you've also got the professors there. So, but sometimes what they're going to do, is a do no harm before you help kind of thing, and I understand that. But part of that was probably on me, and what I should have done, that one was so close, I probably could have literally, we ended up having to palpate out. But she was dying already when we did. And so we went ahead and tried to get the eggs to save them, but they'd been in too long. And, when I say she was dying, it was just her nerves firing. But they tried enemas, and they did clean out some old poop, and we thought that'd be good, and, everything else, and it just wasn't. It was also one of those things at her age, going through the surgery would have likely, I think, been more detrimental to her than help. There's a point in time for everything. Come on, girlie, let's work together. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and put her in her new cage for a minute, get the current eggs out, and then I'm going to put her back in the cage with the eggs. And the reason we're going to go back in the cage with the eggs is because my hope is that the smell of the eggs in the clutch will get her to keep continuing to work. Even though the clutch is going to be gone, I do want to go ahead and pull them and get them harvested. And then we'll check on her every day, probably massage her a little bit, see what we need to do. And then if that doesn't work, we'll run a needle, just a small one, right in between the ribs and into that egg. And then we'll drain a bunch of fluid out of that egg. And what that will do is it'll shrink the egg down and make it easier for her to pass. When we do that, we are definitely going to be sacrificing the egg. But again, that's okay. That's okay. That is not a healthy egg to get laid. That egg is most likely screwed anyway. It just probably is. So, that's kind of the situation we're in. I mean, it sucks, guys, but it is what it is. But let's check on a little bit of good news, shall we? And that is I'm going to grab my fancy flashlight, and you and I are going to candle some scaleless head eggs together. This is the scaleless head clutch, so I guess we did update on those after all. And you're probably like, how can you be so happy dealing with this medical problem? Well, it kind of works this way. I mean, am I happy I'm dealing with it? Of course not. Who would be? Let me flip you guys around here. Nobody would be happy to be dealing with that problem. But, with that, I know I got healthy eggs, which I'm happy about. Yep. And it has taken her a while to lay those eggs, so truth be told, leaving her be might work. I'm probably being a little bit over anxious working on her. It's very possible, but again, I want her to survive. That's also why I'm putting her up, because there's a point where you got to say, okay, I know that I'm being a little bit overzealous here, and knock it off. So what we're going to do is we're going to write on these eggs. Well, these are some weird looking shells. I think, looking at these shells too, they don't even all look fully calcified, which tells me that we may be okay here. And it may just be that she hasn't been able to get, it's been slow going. So all I'm going to do now is take these. I got to take them to the other house, which kind of is a bummer. So we're just going to set them in a transport tub that doesn't have any moisture or anything. What I mean by these look weird, as you can see, they're really light calcification. It's almost like, I can see the vein work in this one now. I don't know if you can see that very well or not, but it's almost like the whole egg's a window. And they're kind of all like that. So I'm not sure if they're just not finished calcifying up, indicating a very slow laying process. These two are stuck together a little bit, which is a-okay by me. I prefer my eggs being stuck together, to be honest. It just helps to hold them in place. And this one has just a little bit of urate fecal matter, so that could be part of the issue too. She's got a little bit of that in there, which we did squeeze some out, so that might help some. We'll stick this one here. All right, that should do it for transport. Let me get that poop out of there. So now I'm going to stick her back in, and again, the hope is that by putting her back in, it will help her to continue to work and get that last egg out. Now, if that egg comes out, I check it tomorrow, and it looks viable, then we'll go ahead and incubate it. Well, I don't know if we made much progress at all. Maybe a little. And if it doesn't, then we won't. Hopefully she was just taking a break. Hopefully. But either way, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 5 is kind of her normal output. So I'll show you the clutch there. And then you can really kind of see what I'm talking about. How it almost looks like they're not fully calcified. But there's a little bug on one. I hate these little flies. I think I get some fly paper in here. So yeah. And they may go ahead and calcify up, which would be an indication that, it's probably just a long lay process for her. So we may not even have a problem. I may be massaging, she'll probably knock that off. Also, just so we can see a few other things. This girl is extremely close to laying, so that's going to be happening soon. Of course, that's going to be more ghost stuff. Yay, more ghost stuff. And then, David, I hope you're still watching, because we are wrapped in a tight coil getting ready to pop. So I do expect that by the first week of November, I think we'll have 2 more clutches. And then I think we'll be done at a right number of 22, which I would consider a success this year. 22 would be perfect. So, yes. Yeah, you know what? Disney on Wheels, it could. And we might end up doing that too. We'll see. We'll probably try everything before. Just the movement too could also help. And yeah, I saw the comment there about, yeah, we get fruit flies everywhere. It's horrible. I gotta get some fly paper. About when you do the implosion, missing everything else is the sketchy part. And it is. It really is. You're trying to just go in there and not damage an organ, and obviously it's a calculated risk. So none of this is pure science, and this is going to sound a little bit weird, but in a lot of ways, when you start doing this, you do some of your own vet work. There's a point where you do your own vet work. Do you do all of it? No, I'm not going to perform a surgery on my snake. Well, other than an egg implosion. But there's a point where you just have to take care of your own shit. My vet, if I took it to my usual vet, who I take my cats and dogs to, she's going to be like, it's not her forte. I love her, great vet. But when we had to do a talk at the high school about, reptile care, she called me and said, hey, will you come with me? This is your department. And I was like, absolutely, So, you got to keep some of that in your thought process and in check. That some things you're going to have to do on your own. And it doesn't mean it's fun or that I want to. It makes me scared as hell every time I have to do something. But I mean, if you think about it, assist feeding vet work. Like, that is something that a standard keeper, when I first got my first snake, if I needed to do that, I would likely have gone to a vet to do. Well, you're doing so many of those things that, you kind of do some of that on your own. And then you leave the major things, like if we're having to open a snake up or something of that nature, of course we're going to go to a vet. Um, it's kind of the way that works. But that should be not very often. I'll give you an example. I just assist fed this snake 2 days ago. Where are you at, little buddy? I think it's right about. Not that one. That one's a beast. Yeah, this little spider right here. It's probably my goofiest spider I ever hatched, but mostly because it's small. And it fought me and fought me and fought me and fought me. But, we get the job done. It's got a meal in there. It did not regurgitate. So we're good. And it's already even started, the meal's already shrunk down. So it's already started to digest. So, like, that is kind of one of those things you just have to do, Like, if you're going to breed, there's a certain level you got to be able to do on your own. And yeah, I like the Reptile Prime. You can also use ReptiChip. You can pretty much, any coconut bedding is going to be good, guys. You're going to be good with anything coconut. You're going to be pretty happy. I think Reptile Prime is my favorite, but you are going to pay dearly for it. And I'll be truthful, if I was didn't have the shop that lets me get it at cost, I probably would be doing something else just because of expense cost. All right, I'm going to take that last question about my favorite morph, and then I am going to have to hop off here, mostly because I've got to get those guys into incubation so they don't get cold. I would say my favorite morph, as David said, is Axanthic if we're talking single gene, but that's mostly for the combos it can go into and the things I can create with it in a combo. So, if you're talking about by itself, it changes all the time. All the time. You know what, Wolfgeist? I'll have him text you tomorrow. Actually, text me tomorrow and remind me sometime tomorrow, like late evening, and he should be up here for feed night. So we'll go from there. All right, guys. I love each and every one of you, but I got to dip out so I can get those eggs onto incubation. And let's take one more peek at our girl. That's a good look. Full of piss and vinegar and fire. Now you'll notice if you look close at her nose, she's got a lot of Reptile Prime right there on her nose. But that's from digging and moving shit around, so that's not uncommon. Now hopefully she will get that out of there. You have his number? Good, then hit him up in the evening and he'll probably help you out. And yes, the Axanthic line that I work with is SK line. So, all right, guys, thank you so much. I'm going to go get these eggs cooking. Clutch number 20 is, well, maybe all the way out. We'll see. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.